Goodbye, Guardian.
Greetings and citations, everyone. So, we're off with quite the start to this World Soul Saga with War Within. Dalaran has been shattered to bits by Xal'atath, its survivors scattered all over, or deceased. The Council of Six, the leaders of Dalaran, are all seemingly missing, and of course, Khadgar, the very leader of the Kirin Tor, and renowned magical hero of Azeroth, was killed by Xal'atath, who had promised to use Dalaran's potent magic for her own use, promptly destroying the city and Khadgar along with it, using the power of the Dark Heart to do so, and leaving bits and parts of the city to fall down below on the Isle of Dorn. A chain of events that would push Illyria into her hunt for Xal'atath and the rest of the world to mourn the city's final destruction. It had survived the Scourge, it had survived the Legion, it did not, however, survive the Void. Rest in peace, Dalaran. Womp. But I'm here to tell you that the Archmage, Khadgar, our beloved teller of dad jokes, is not quite dead as we all believe he is currently. As we observe somehow the events that take place just before the city's ultimate destruction, we bear witness to Khadgar's confrontation with Xal'atath, blasting her with the same trick he had used on yet another dark entity within Karazhan back when the Legion had first invaded during the events of the Broken Shore and all that fun jazz. It of course did not work this time, and was absorbed into the Dark Heart, making short work of Khadgar shortly afterwards. Now, Illyria does show up in a last-ditch effort to try and stop Xal'atath, but it too is foolhardy, something Khadgar quickly realizes immediately and sends Illyria on her way down below in the Isle of Dorn, preventing Xal'atath from claiming her one true prize, seemingly. The Dark Heart is then used to consume Khadgar and his broken staff of Atiash, but as we observe Dalaran from the outside, it is not absorbed in the same way as Khadgar was, but rather destroyed in a massive bubble of void energy. It seemed to have been quite intentional to absorb Khadgar and not obliterate him like she did with Dalaran. We don't know too much of the Dark Heart's capabilities just yet, but it is Xal'atath's ace in the hole, essentially, gifted to her by Erudicron after he had taken Neltharion's ancient device, and gave it to her for her own use after blessing it with the potent primordial energies of Galakrond from the past. Time shenanigans, gotta love it. The Dark Heart itself seems to take whatever it drains and turns it into the void, and I mean anything. She intentionally was draining the very magics of the ancient city of Dalaran for her own use, and turned it to the void, it seems. And I believe Khadgar is the first time she's ever used this on an actual living being before, and it does appear quite painful when she does so. And if the point is to kill him, why absorb him, then rather not just obliterate him along with everything else in Dalaran, like we saw in that bubble there. It's possible she took all of the power Khadgar mustered along with Dalaran, and would use it to destroy Dalaran with that void magic, with that bubble we saw. Yes, it's very possible and even likely that Khadgar was killed in this, but it's just as possible as he is stored inside the very powerful relic of the Dark Heart instead. Khadgar is a very, very, very powerful Archmage, and was basically a Guardian without actually being trialed as a Guardian or blessed as one. He was one of the most powerful mages in all of Azeroth. So storing him inside the Dark Heart, along with maybe the Council and who knows what else is in there, would make for plenty of sense than just killing him and them outright. We already know that Xal'atath and the Nerubians, instead of killing several people within Dalaran, they instead were imprisoning them for some reason. And I don't think we ever found out why they were being imprisoned, to my knowledge at least. I don't remember it. So storing him inside to be used as basically a battery for later, or to corrupt him later, or... yeah, I feel like it makes more sense for her to take champions of Azeroth like Khadgar and turn them into the Void or use them as batteries. I would not be surprised if she intends to do this to the likes of Thrall, to Jaina, to Anduin, and so on and so forth. Or better yet, she's planning on using him as a lure for a certain someone later. Yes, we're getting straight back into that bit about Xal'atath wanting Illyria. I won't get too into it here, but it's very, very clear that Xal'atath's true gem that she seems to be chasing is Illyria. In fact, Illyria gives chase to hunt down and avenge her friend Khadgar immediately after this because Xal'atath was the one that ended him. She showed her that very intentionally, at least in my eyes. She could have killed Khadgar any moment. I think she was playing with him, I think she was toying with him, and she wanted Illyria to see her quote-unquote kill Khadgar from the shorelines, since she really couldn't see it when, you know, she got teleported away. So already Khadgar was a good lure piece for Xal'atath to hone in on. Illyria, when she thought him dead, or he might be dead, but you know, she believes he is dead, but it is a trigger for that hunt. Anyways, but in the end, it wasn't enough to convince her to continue that vengeful path, as she realizes her blunder in Azj-Kahet, where her attack on Xal'atath blew up in her face, and just led to Nerubians believing it was an attack on their queen. And countlessly before this, we see how much the loss of Khadgar affected Illyria's mental state, where she pushed away others and kept seeing Xal'atath taunting and probing her mind instead. But in the end, vengeance wasn't what drove Illyria to side or, you know, contend against Xal'atath. In the end, family and friendship, yeah, I know it's cheesy, is what stopped her in that track and stopped her from continuing down that path of power of vengeance. But as before, Illyria is no longer a lone wolf or on this quest, and no longer hunting down Xal'atath purely for vengeance for Khadgar. She's now thinking the bigger picture in mind with allies as her pack. That puts Xal'atath in a trickier position, no? Now, she has to figure out another means to lure her in, to corrupt her, to grab her, to do whatever she plans on doing with Illyria. And that very easily could be Illyria's husband, Turalyon, or her son Eretor, next on her list to kill, capture, or corrupt. But what better than to pull that layer of hope back, of saving or rescuing Khadgar from death, or in this case his prison within the Dark Heart. We already know that the Sunwheel will be corrupted and be a funnel for the Void, it seems. We know the Void tends to pull people on the path of insanity and corruption, and loved ones are most certainly the key to make that happen. I think Xal'atath knows we and Illyria would rescue Khadgar if the opportunity presented itself. That hope is too difficult to pass up. I do certainly think if he is alive, he's not doing so hot, down in the Dark Heart, which has either already corrupted him or is working on doing so, or, you know, changing him into void gas or void energy, I don't know. And I think that Xal'atath would most certainly use such an opportunity to add more to her powerful relic through Khadgar, or to trap Illyria or the others like I mentioned, whom I think she wants to be that beacon. She wants to use Illyria to tap into the Sunwell for her next powerful body or scheme. We may be able, though, to save Khadgar from death, or it's too late for him for a number of reasons. Regardless, I do not think this is the last we've seen of Khadgar. I believe he will be critical in Illyria's loss, or the Dark Heart's destruction maybe. I could most certainly see a phase whenever we face Xal'atath, where we enter the Dark Heart and find Khadgar, who aids in bringing it down in an epic conclusion. or it's a bit more tragic and he's been twisted into a void monstrosity by Xal'atath, adding to a list of reasons why we need to take her down. But what do you all ultimately think? Do you think Khadgar is alive, but contained inside of the Dark Heart, or do you believe he's been dusted by the Harbinger of the Void? Let me know down below. I'm fully aware that it's very likely that this is it for Khadgar, but I'm holding on to hope that he's still alive somehow. Be sure to like this video and subscribe, and share, and if you'd like to chatter up on the lore, you can do so on our very own Discord. We'd love to have you. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you went to my Patreon and supported me like these amazing folks here. It goes a long way to make these sorts of videos happen. But until next time, my friends, see ya!